Welcome to this explainer. You know, every single time you turn that key, push the start button, or just watch the road open up in front of you, you are interacting with the result of more than 2 centuries of pure human invention. Okay, let's dive into this.
We're spanning everything from the clunky, massive machinery of early steam power all the way to the sleek, hyper-connected EVs we see today. Literally, every time you start an engine, you are sitting inside an evolutionary marvel. It's a machine that hasn't just changed its own shape over the years, it has fundamentally rebuilt the entire world around it. We're going to explore exactly where these machines came from, why they changed, and most importantly, how understanding all this history makes you a much smarter, more confident owner today.
So here is our roadmap for this explainer. First up, before the modern car. 2, the birth of practical automobiles. 3, cars for more people. 4, everyday mobility and safety. 5, electronics and hybrids. And finally, our connected and electric future.
Just to give you a bird's-eye view of our massive 200-year scope here, think about the sheer momentum of this technological progress. We're going from steam experiments back in the 1700s to Carl Benz's pivotal patent in 1886, straight through the incredible massive scale of the 1908 Ford Model T. Then we hit the fuel efficiency shifts of the 1970s, the hybrid breakthrough with the Toyota Prius in 1997, and we finally arrive at the electric software platforms of the 2020s. I mean, it's a massive leap from a heavy steam carriage to basically a computer on wheels, right? It's a fascinating ride.
Section 1. Before the modern car. Steam experiments and the dream of self-propelled travel. So, for the vast majority of human history, if you wanted to travel on land, you really only had a few options. You had to walk, ride an animal, or ride in an animal-drawn carriage. But in the late 1700s, engineers started dreaming a bit bigger. They built these heavy, slow, honestly really hard-to-control steam-powered road vehicles. Now, were they practical for your daily commute? Absolutely not. But they proved one massive, powerful idea. A carriage didn't necessarily need a horse. And that brings us to the core engineering question that really framed early automotive history. How exactly can a vehicle practically carry its own source of power? Early inventors had to figure out not just how to carry that power, but how to steer it safely, stop it reliably, and, make an engine small and light enough to actually handle everyday uneven dirt roads.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that the core engineering leap that changed everything comes down to this exact contrast. On one side, early steam engines required boiling water externally to create steam. That meant super bulky equipment and incredibly heavy water tanks. On the other side, we have the internal combustion engine, developed during the 19th century. Instead of boiling water outside, these engines burned fuel directly inside the engine itself. This revolutionary, much more compact design is exactly what pushed the automobile out of the experimental phase and actually onto the roads.
Section 2. Birth of practical automobiles. The 1886 Benz Patent-Motorwagen and a new kind of mobility.
So, with the advent of internal combustion, the late 1800s saw the birth of the practical car, at least as we begin to recognize it. Let's look at a few critical early milestones. In 1886, Carl Benz patented a 3-wheeled, gasoline-powered vehicle. It was delicate, it was modest in speed, sure, but it brought all these essential ideas into one purpose-built road vehicle. But here's the thing. Brilliant engineering still required public confidence. People had to actually believe this loud machine could take them somewhere useful. And that is exactly where Bertha Benz comes in. In 1888, she made this landmark long-distance journey in the vehicle, basically proving to the world that cars weren't just quirky workshop experiments. Her trip also established a truth we still live by today. Real roads expose real problems. And solving those problems is exactly what makes vehicles better.
Okay, I love this next point. Time for a quick mythbuster. Electric vehicles are absolutely not a brand new idea. No way. Right at the turn of the 20th century, electric cars actually competed directly with steam and gas cars. In fact, they really appealed to a lot of early drivers because they were remarkably quiet and just far easier to operate than the really complex gasoline cars of that era. Ultimately, things like limited driving range, battery constraints, and, the huge expanding availability of liquid fuels kind of influenced why gasoline took the lead. But it's totally amazing to realize the whole electric versus gas conversation is literally over a century old.
Section 3. Cars for more people. The 1908 Model T and the 1913 moving assembly line.
And this brilliantly illustrates where the pace of history really speeds up. We're moving from a delicate luxury item straight into the massive explosion of mass production. In 1908, Ford introduced the Model T, and by 1913, the moving assembly line reduced production time and costs dramatically. Suddenly, owning a car was totally possible for a huge portion of the population. But notice what happened next. Early drivers were bouncing around on dirt paths made for horses, right? As car ownership exploded, governments suddenly had to pave roads and build bridges. Service stations popped up out of nowhere. Millions of new jobs were created around parts, fuel, and tires. People could actually live further away from city centers, giving birth to these sprawling suburbs. The automobile didn't just adapt to our world, the world fundamentally rebuilt itself completely around the automobile.
Section 4. Everyday mobility and safety. Roads, culture, safety, reliability, and fuel efficiency.
After the Second World War, cars became the absolute center of daily life in so many countries. They became symbols of status, sportiness, and pure independence. But this massive growth brought some very serious new questions about how to protect passengers and ensure reliability when, millions of heavy metal machines are moving around at high speeds. Safety engineering didn't just happen overnight. It was a very gradual evolution. Seatbelts, better vehicle structures, head restraints, airbags, anti-lock brakes, electronic stability systems, they definitely didn't all arrive at once. Each one of these improvements addressed a specific, different risk out there on the road. Some helped prevent crashes altogether, while others protected people when a crash was just unavoidable. Auto history is so often pitched as this glamorous story of speed and style. But in reality, it is profoundly a story of learning from failure to save lives.
Section 5. Electronics and hybrids. Sensors, diagnostics, and the 1997 mass-produced hybrid era. So, the fuel crises of the 1970s radically pushed engineers to really think about efficiency, sparking this massive digital revolution right under the hood. The mechanical systems were still there, of course, but sensors and computers started taking over. The dashboard stopped being just a collection of dials and really became a crucial communication center between the car and the driver. So, the crucial point is, how did automakers respond to this huge demand for efficiency? Enter the hybrid. In 1997, Toyota launched the Prius in Japan, making it the first mass-produced hybrid passenger car. By combining an internal combustion engine with electric drive technology, it improved efficiency dramatically. But honestly, more than just the fuel savings, it proved something massive to the entire industry. The automobile could evolve by brilliantly combining different systems rather than stubbornly forcing a choice down just one mechanical path.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our modern era. Section 6. Connected and electric future. Batteries, software, driver assistance, and smarter ownership.
We are currently living through another massive transition, where cars are evolving from strictly mechanical machines into highly sophisticated electrical and software platforms. We're seeing electric vehicles become highly visible, supported by expanding charging networks all over the place. We have cameras acting as extra sets of eyes, and driver assistance systems actively keeping us in our lanes. But perhaps most importantly, connected diagnostics mean the vehicle is constantly trying to communicate with you. A warning light today is no longer just some annoying symbol on the dash. It's a specific clue from a sophisticated software platform telling you exactly what it needs. But despite all this incredible digital advancement, the car is still fundamentally a physical machine that touches the ground. And that's exactly why these enduring habits of good ownership are just as relevant today as they were 50 years ago. You still need to check your tire pressure because your tires dictate how you meet the road. You absolutely must watch your engine temperature, listen to the physical sounds your brakes make, and above all, read the manual for your specific vehicle. Digital sensors are great, they really are, but basic, smart maintenance habits remain absolutely essential to keeping you safe and, frankly, saving you money. Consider this idea for a second. Technology changes, but careful ownership remains valuable. This really is the core thesis of our explainer today. Being a good owner isn't about knowing how to rebuild a transmission in your driveway. Nobody expects that. It's about knowing what you're looking at, understanding the long history of the machine you are operating, and asking the right questions so you can make totally informed choices when you're dealing with professionals.
And that leaves me with one final exciting question for you. Think about the incredible 200-year journey we just covered today, all the way from clunky steam carriages to connected EVs. Now, look at the car sitting in your driveway. What is your vehicle's story? And more importantly, as you think about being a smarter, more confident owner, what is the first car question you want us to answer next? Keep asking questions, keep learning, and as always, enjoy the drive.